Okay, so as the year comes to an end and the new year rolls around, I'm pretty sure most of us are feeling like we've had enough of this year and we can't wait until 2021 rolls around. So, what do? We typically write down some New Year's resolution. We make goals for the new year. We find inspiration and get inspired. And as we kind of sit down and visualize and jot down some of these goals, um, we feel motivated to work towards those goals. But the reality is, the chances of us falling through with those goals and failing them, uh, likely in the first month, is very high. So, in this video, I'm going to go over 3 points on why motivation is pretty much meaningless in the bigger context of your goals and what we should be focusing our energy on instead. So, number one, motivation is an emotional response. You feel it when you get inspired, you feel it when you're excited to get your new outfit so that you can start working out. You feel it when you start a new job, when you go on the scene as like a new employee. You feel it when you get into a new relationship, when you're just learning about the other person and you're just feeling really excited and motivated to spend a lot of time with them and to get to know them. And the feelings of motivation comes and goes, right? Because it is an emotional response. It is hard to really sustain any emotional state for a long period of time. So, unless you're someone who's just in a great mood all day long, or on the other end, if you're someone who is just angry like all day long from the moment you wake up to the moment you sleep, I think outside of those contexts, it's really difficult to sustain a feeling like in this case motivation for say like 8-10 hours straight. Can you imagine trying to sustain this feeling of motivation and inspiration for 8, 10, 12 hours a day, 5 to 7 days a week? Chances are that's not going to happen, which brings us to our next point. So, point number two is motivation is not sustainable. So, there's no denying that when we first start jotting down our goals and feeling so inspired to start working towards them, or when we first start, working out, we want to go to the gym like, 7 days a week, 2 hours per day, or if we're signing up for some course, whether that's for your professional career or as a hobby, we just want to dive right into the course material and consume, and digest, or just consuming personal development content, like listening to 10 audio books back to back and just feeling like you're making so much progress and just wanting to better yourself. And soon you know that the feelings dissipate and that before you know it, you're back to baseline. So now, you went from a feeling like you're on cloud nine, to really just going back to normal, going back to kind of your old routine and your old day to day. You know that the goal is still there and the desire is still there, but what you were initially feeling, that feeling of like seeking out and going into attack mode, consuming, learning, doing the thing, that feeling goes away. So you're no longer in that aggressive doing mode, and you're probably just back to your chilling, and it basically goes from like a your goal being a must have into a, oh well, that's nice to have. So the effort and attention that you initially put into those goals, now the time and energy that you put towards those things, it's probably like a fraction of what it was. Maybe you were spending 10 hours a week on a certain goal when you first started, but then suddenly, that dwindles down to 2 hours, 1 hour, or maybe you go a couple weeks without even visiting the goal. And point number three is that motivation doesn't always show up when you need it. And of course, we see this all the time in our day-to-day lives. We got our coffee ready, and we're at our computer and we're ready to crank out some content or write a blog post or crank out this essay. Our new gym outfit arrived and is ready to be broken in. We have all these tools and variables in place that is there to launch us into action, but there's something missing, and that is motivation. So I've talked about this before in an earlier video, and I'll like include it somewhere in this video if I remember. And I've never done that before, so we'll see. But basically, the question then becomes: are we supposed to feel motivated before we do the thing, or do we just kind of wait around, and if the motivation never comes, then we just won't ever do the thing? Or and this is my proposal, how about we flip the script, kind of look at it from a different perspective, and instead of seeing things like, well, motivation has to come from it before I do it. So how about we flip that, and we think and act from a much more powerful way, where we would have a lot more control over our goals and intentions. So I think the conversation that we should have with ourselves should go something more like, I am committed to this goal or this task. So regardless of how I might be currently feeling, I'm going to put some effort into working those goals. And by working on those goals, I will then create the feelings of motivation to keep going. So sit on that for a little bit. I think I think there's really like two ways to look at things. It's like we can sit around and wait for feelings to come to us before we act. And once those feelings go away, then it's like, well, what do we do then? Do we like stop the task? Or we can look at it from a different angle, where we take more ownership into what's important to us and act on it, regardless of if the feeling of motivation is there or not. And I truly believe that what you'll actually find is that once you start working on a task, right? Like once you start studying, or once you start working out, or anything like that, like you will eventually start generating feelings of being pumped and motivated. And you're not going to stop midway when you're already working on your goals. You're going to keep going until you've completed what you need to do for the day. So I truly believe that actions generates emotions inside of you, because chances are, if you're sitting around waiting for feelings to come to you, they're probably not going to come. So if motivation is not the answer, then what is? The answer is commitment. And I believe there are two sides to commitment. On one hand, commitment can be obligation that you do for your survival, for your family's survival. You are committed to certain things because otherwise, like, you wouldn't have a roof over your head or food on the table. So those type of commitments, you do it because you will do it because you will do whatever it takes to feed your family or feed yourself, right? So things like you know going to your job or going to the DMV or paying bills or going to medical appointments. You do those things because it is necessary for your survival and your well-being. So when you go to work, even though you might hate your job, you might hate being there. Like, you're gonna get it done because you're committed to your survival, and you made that commitment to yourself and your family that you're gonna be a provider and or at least you're gonna provide for yourself. Whatever the case may be. On the other side of commitment, you have commitment because you want to do those things because you desire certain results and achievements in your life. Your reason and your why to attain those things is so intense and so great that you don't necessarily have to rely on feelings and motivation for you to keep working towards those things. So on this side of commitment, you do it because you want to, not because you have to. Things like getting healthy because you want to live a healthy and long life, and you also want to, be there when you have grandchildren. Building a business because you value freedom and flexibility and financial stability. Even getting a second job because you would never want to go through the situation of like having to wonder like where's the next meal gonna come from, and things like putting yourself out there on the internet and on YouTube, as awkward and as uncomfortable as it is, because you truly want to help people and connect with people all over the world. Might be referencing myself there, but so when your commitment is clear enough and you know exactly why you need and want to do those things, the dependence on feeling and motivation really like isn't that big a part of the equation anymore, right? Because it's like when you know like your why on doing certain things or working towards certain goals, it the question of like, oh man, like, do I feel like doing this? Maybe I won't do it. Like, that's not really gonna be a that's not really gonna play a big part, because it's like, well, I'm gonna go to like the gym 3 times this week because I am like obese and I really value my health and my longevity. So like, even if it's raining outside and like I've only gotten 5 hours of sleep, I'm still committed to going to the gym because it is what I want for myself and my health. So yeah, I think like regardless of the commitment of whether you have to do it or you want to do it, you do it because like it needs to be done, right? Whether it's going to a job that you may not want to go to, but you do it because you want to put a roof over your family's head. You may not want to go for a run, but you do it because you want to improve like your health and like be there for the long game. You may not want to have a difficult conversation with someone, but you do it anyway because you value that person and the relationship, right? So I will acknowledge that motivation is a start. It is what will jumpstart you. You know, it was what will get you started and get you going. But commitment is what will keep you in the long game. Commitment is what will keep you in it day after day, regardless of how motivated or unmotivated you're feeling. And it's okay if motivation fizzles out, and you either like reduce the effort you put into a certain goal or just stop working on it completely. And if that happens, I think the question really becomes, was the goal never really that important enough to begin with? Or were you relying too much on the feeling of motivation in order to put in any effort? And we won't be committed 100% of the time. Like, we're just humans. If you're committed 100% of the time, like, I don't know, you're either an extremely high functioning human being or you might be from another planet. But, it's okay if we're not committed 100% of the time, Like, that's why we skip class. That's why we call out of work, like, when we're not, even sick or whatever. It's why we cancel medical appointments. Like, these things happen. Just know that we're all human. Imperfection is the name of the game, and the best we can do is to just keep going. And if you made it this far to the end of this video, I just want to say I appreciate you and thank you.